Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzalez, president of Trident Concepts, and I'm here with Brownells Daily Defense at the beautiful SIG Academy in New Hampshire to talk to you about how to choose a firearms trainer. So, the first thing we're going to want to talk about is defining your needs. What is it that you are looking for your firearms training needs? Many times it's going to be, I have never shot a firearm before, and I'd like to learn how to do so safely. Maybe on the other side of the spectrum is, hey, I'm having difficulty mastering this particular skill. So regardless of where you are in the skill spectrum, you want to still figure out what it is that you're trying to achieve. Now, when you start to look at perhaps the resume bullet points for your potential firearms trainer, one of the most important things that you start with is safety. You are trusting them to safeguard your safety, so that should be probably the first thing that you put on the list as far as looking at a trainer. Now, specifically what you're looking for is their experience. How long have they been doing this? And that's not to say that you could be in this for a very long time and still not have good safety protocols, but for the most part, somebody that's been doing this for a while has an established means of ensuring safety for their client base, the student pool, just everybody in general that they come into contact with. Now, part of that experience also should be focused on their subject matter expertise. So it's not as if you need to have the elite of the elite when it comes to a firearms trainer. Maybe there comes a time when that is specifically needed, but that'll be something that you come up to when you start identifying your needs. For the most part, what you're really looking for is somebody that has a high level of proficiency and competency when it comes to shooting experience. So that could be everything from they've accumulated so many hours of formalized instruction themselves. They've been certified by various types of governing bodies as an instructor. They potentially could be actually in a schoolhouse format as an instructor. So their shooting experience is probably going to be tied into what they've done in their life. Now, one of the other things that you might want to consider is not just their shooting experience, but also their real life experience. Sometimes at certain levels of skill development, you may need something that is a little bit more specific. For instance, you may need something that has more of a tactical application. And so in that case, you're probably going to need to find somebody that actually has that real world experience within the tactical framework that you're looking for. Now, that doesn't mean that they have to have that, but it is helpful that they have, in a sense, walked the walk. That helps to build a little bit of confidence in your acceptance of their material that you're looking for. Now, one of the things that I am really keen on is their teaching experience. So while yes, I'm looking to see if they actually are a formalized instructor, do they have credentials of some sort, what I'm really looking for is how do they interact with the student? Because that to me is super important. I want to make sure as a firearms instructor, firearms trainer, that my students have a positive experience. That it is safe, but yet they have a positive experience, because that is much more likely to induce future opportunities for them to want to come back. Future opportunities for them to want to expand their knowledge base and learn more. If they have a negative experience, they may be turned off by the entire subject, which kind of defeats the purpose. So I'm looking at their teaching experience, and I'm looking to see how do they deliver the material? How do they communicate all of this experience that they might have? If they have a poor means of communicating that with their student, it's going to be hard for you to really take in all of that experience that they have. So I really look at kind of like how do they communicate, deliver their message? How do they interact? How do they work with a student who might have some difficulties in approaching them and asking for help or identifying their needs in a sense? Other things that you might want to consider are going to be availability. So you may have your eye set on, oh, I want to go here. I want to work with this person. I want to do this. But they may not have as big of an availability opening for as many students as they might want. And that's an unfortunate circumstances, but it is possible that your schedule and their schedule just really have a hard time syncing up. So one of the things that I like and look for is my ability to be consistent with students, being able to provide the same material or be available at the same time or be available to work with them during certain periods of their availability. So I try to do the best that I can, but it's also a balancing act between all those variables. So if you had to choose between maybe somebody that was at the top of their game but only available for maybe 1 or 2 periods of time versus somebody that's really good at what they do and has a much wide open calendar that allows you to pick and choose what works for you, that might be something to consider. Now the last thing is going to be cost. And I save this for last because a lot of times what you're going to find is that there's a sliding scale when it comes to cost. I don't want to say that you get what you pay for, but you do want to be mindful of that. As you're shopping around to look for a potential firearms trainer, cost is going to be something that you need to start with in the sense of what do I have available to work with? Because you may find that that immediately kind of knocks some potential options off the board. But the other thing that I talk about is when I'm looking at cost, do I want to disperse that cost over a period of time or do I just want to go one and done? So my recommendation is to try to disperse that over time so that you can try to build a little bit of consistency. So when you're looking at cost, yeah, you might be looking at some of those different trainers have different kind of price scales, but also keep in mind that maybe it's in your best interest to try to bundle some sessions together where you might be doing 2 or 3 or 4 at a reduced price point, but you're building momentum. You're building up some kind of like experience that kind of you can draw from and be helpful at retaining some of this information. So those are just some general ideas that you want to start to consider when you look for a firearms trainer for your own personal needs. Now, there's a lot of other things that we're going to cover a little bit later, but that should get the ball rolling. I'm Jeff Gonzalez. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them down below. Until then, take care and stay safe.